My family and I moved to the United States when I was 3 years old, not knowing the language. I started school here while my parents started work. Before I knew it, I was speaking Spanish and English. My parents, however, were only speaking Spanish. As my siblings and I grew up, we became my parents' personal translators, their voice essentially. My older sister and I would take turns going with my parents to the stores, doctor visits, answering the phone, and other things. After my sister left, though, the responsibility fell on me, not only with my parents, but for my younger brother too, who needed help with homework. It was a constant battle building bridges between my world at home and the outside world. One time, for example, I remember it was the holidays and we were out at the store. The cashier wished my dad happy holidays, and my dad answered with, "Happy New York." At that time, I felt embarrassed as I corrected him, but that lets me realize now the importance of being able to access two different worlds and act as a gatekeeper.
My grandparents moved to the United States with the hopes of achieving an American dream. An American dream that included their children being able to pursue education. They had 8 children when they moved to the United States as farm workers, and those 8 children had 40 nephews and 20 nieces. Amongst all of them, I'm the first in my family to be able to go to college. Assuming this responsibility has been difficult, but it has allowed me to give perspective to a new world and a new realm of education for future generations. Now, it is my job as a college mentor to make sure that my future cousins, nieces, nephews, and even my sister are also allowed to pursue their American dream in chasing a post-secondary education, whether that be doing SAT or ACT prep or helping my cousins out with the FAFSA. All of these are important aspects of being a gatekeeper into the realm of education for a family that has never had the opportunity to do so.
My parents grew up in the same tiny town of Matatlan, Mexico. Even though they were high school sweethearts, they never made it to high school. Their families lived out on farms away from the town and couldn't keep going to school after middle school. In spite of this, or probably because of this, my parents still made sure to instill in us a big appreciation for education. They moved to the US in the late 80s, early 90s, and had 3 daughters, and eventually a son. Growing up, my sisters and I translated everything from report cards to street signs for my parents. My dad would sometimes ask me to check his grammar on his resume or job applications. I remember one time I looked it over and every sentence ended up with a red mark, and I was like, how does my dad not know how to spell achieve? I didn't tell him anything though. I just fixed up all his errors, but I was still a bit shocked. Then I remembered that my dad hasn't taken an English class in over 30 years, and he only took 2 beginners courses, so of course he's gonna have a bunch of grammar mistakes. Now I realize that being privileged enough to get such a great education in the US has opened so many doors and opportunities for me. And one of those is opportunity to be a gatekeeper for my parents, to help them understand all the gibberish that is English, as well as the American school system and culture and everything else.